This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and their guests only. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. And because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. Welcome to Once Shattered, Picking Up the Pieces, a podcast devoted to changing the way eating disorders and mental illness are viewed in our society. With your hosts, Jack and Linda Mazur and Ellen Bennett. Today's guest is Matt Venuti. Matt Venuti is an award-winning multi-instrumentalist, composer, performer, and music video artist who is known for introducing rare and expressive acoustic and electronic instruments to the world through his concerts and videos. Matt has been the featured performer at multiple TED and TEDx conferences. 2 of Matt's albums charted in the top 10 of the College Media Journal and Zone Music Reporter. Matt offers electroacoustic concerts and multimedia events, but is also known as a singer-songwriter and bandleader that has played on numerous national stages and high-profile events. Of all the twists and turns in Matt's life, nothing would have as profound an impact as the death of his wife. Matt and Yolanda had spent 20 years together, and Matt felt lost and disconnected from life. He escaped to nature with the hang instruments. He visited the redwoods, the canyons, the ocean, the desert, anywhere that offered a peaceful environment where he could find strength in nature. In time, his heart started to heal, but with a different level of maturity that felt more enduring. He began to develop musical motifs that came from these visits to nature's sanctuaries, and they later evolved into compositions. He wrote lyrics that reflected the delicate passage of life and the human need to turn to the heart for solace. He soon realized this wasn't simply his journey, but the journey of all humans in the rhythm of life. You check out Matt's website at mattvenuti.com.
Welcome, everyone, to Once Shattered, Picking Up the Pieces, episode 123, Music, Grief, Healing Within the Rhythm of Life with Matt Venuti. So, we're really excited about this podcast today, and it's being brought to you by the Emilee Connection and KMB for Answers. So, we have a very special guest, and this is going to be a tender, beautiful, inspirational show for you to listen to. Matt will be with us in just a moment, but first I'd like to welcome my co-host, my husband, soulmate, and best friend, Jack Mazur. And
always great to be here.
And sitting across from us, our dear friend and fellow eating disorder and mental health advocate, Ms. Ellen Bennett.
We're back again.
So I found this quote today, and I think it's just perfect for this show. So it's by Hannah Harrington, and it's from the best-selling novel Saving June. And the quote is, "He took his pain and turned it into something beautiful, into something that people connect to. And that's what good music does. It speaks to you. It changes you."
Yeah, when I saw this, I thought about the other music soothes the soul, and for me, music has been a huge part of comfort, through my whole life, and certainly since Emilee passed away too. And science has proven that music has a positive impact on physical and mental health. It brightens your mood, it gives you energy. So I'm huge into music. And when we went to Canandaigua and saw Matt last year, I said, "Oh my God, this music is just so soothing and jazzy at the same time." It was, I said, this is great music. So glad to have you here today, Matt.
Music is part of the fabric of our lives and kind of transports us back in time. It makes us laugh, cry, and just find joy. And so just so important to all of us.
So without further ado, I'd like to welcome a hometown friend and musician, well-known and very highly regarded in the U.S. and Europe for his beautiful, healing, and transformational music. His website is Matt Venuti. That's MattVenuti.com. And you'll want to check that out after you listen to him today. And we will be hearing some of the music too. So here he is, my friend and fellow hometown person. We don't get too many of those. So here.
Homie.
A homie, that's the word I'm looking for, my homie.
Yeah.
So welcome, Matt Venuti.
Thank you, Linda. It's really nice to reconnect with you and meet Jack and hello, Ellen.
Hello, hello.
All right.
So, okay, so we both grew up in Geneva, New York, not Switzerland. And I remember talking with you at Art's Corner Store, which was just down the road from our high school. At lunchtime, I remember the pizza and the people there from both schools. It was a great place to mingle. And I remember you being very kind, on the quiet side, with a great smile, and we had some really good mutual friends. Can you share a little bit about your memories of growing up in a small town and the beginning of your adult journey, attending college and embracing music?
Sure. Art's Pizza, yeah, that's one thing that sticks out for sure. That was always the best. Couldn't find that anywhere nowadays, couldn't you? I'm just looking around for that.
Yeah, they're all chains
where'd
now.
that
Big
go?
chains.
They hang out at Starbucks after school now.
I do remember meeting you too, and yeah, it growing up in Geneva was it was a gift. I was able to connect with nature at an early age. We lived out in the town of Geneva, with a pretty big backyard and a cornfield in the back, and across the street there are cow pastures and apple orchards. And as a kid, I would just go around and walking the creeks and in rain, shine, snow, I would be out there and just checking things out and realizing the different textures of snow, how to make a pizza pie out of a snow, out of a certain kind of snow, and make a snowman and snow woman, whatever.
Snow
I want to get in
person.
trouble here today.
Snow person.
I found just being in nature was just always something I loved to do, and having lived in a major metropolitan area for 30 years in San Francisco, I have much more of an appreciation for this area, and that's kind of what brought me back here after so many years. So, college, was there something about college?
Yeah, just college and music, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that college was the least, I had the least amount of music in college. I didn't go to school. I didn't go to school for music. I never really studied music except for early days of playing the piano and taking piano lessons. But college was more about sports and more about, socializing and learning a little bit here and there. I was a journalism and public relations major. I'm not sure exactly what I did with that, except for I suppose I do write a bit. It was great. I went to Xavier University, so I kind of kept the Catholic from kindergarten all the way through college. And so when I graduated from college, I kind of got into the whole nutrition thing. I was really interested in holistic health and the energetics of food and things like that. So I kind of went into a little tangent there. And I went to Boston, and I walked into a nightclub, and I saw a guy named Mike Matheny, who's Pat Metheny's brother, if you know who he is, playing this weird instrument called the electronic valve instrument, a very early version of this instrument. So it totally just blew my mind, and I had to go back there every week and watch him play this thing. And it was only at the end of his show that he pulled it out. It was just a little accessory. But to me, it was the most amazing thing, and I was a trumpet player, so it was like, I got to get one of those. And so I got to know Mike a little bit, because I would bring people in. It was a jazz club. There weren't a lot of people there, but I would bring in like a dozen people to see this thing, and Mike would start to sit down with us, and we became kind of friends. And funny, years later, I became a clinician for a Kai Corporation to demonstrate the instrument, and I was trying to enroll Mike to be part of that. So it was kind of, we kept a relationship, and even to this day. But anyway, that's the first professional gig I had, was playing the electronic valve instrument, flying around the country. It was in the early 80s. Being the demo guy for a Kai Corporation. Did I go too far with that question?
No.
I was going to ask you
Very,
what year
very
that was that
interesting.
you.
Yeah,
Mike.
It was probably around I want to say it was 83, maybe.
So we're 40 years ago.
Yeah. I've been playing that thing for a long time, and now there's, of course, it's improved and gotten more advanced in some ways, but it's a beautiful instrument. It's really amazing what I can do with it, what anyone can do with it. 8-octave range, any sound available to the human ear, with breath expression. So if you close your eyes, you might think you're actually listening to a violin or a trumpet or a flute, or I like to do like strange sounds that I make up myself. So, analog, kind of shape shifting of sounds.
Yeah. Well, you're an artist. That's why, right?
Well, a little bit of a geek when you do get into that part of it. But yeah, the art part of it is more where I'm more interested in.
Is Mike still around?
Yeah.
Still playing?
Yeah, he's in Kansas City. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. Will you tell us a little bit about your band? I'm going to say this right.
I'm going to let you try.
The Venusians.
Well, it's very close. Actually, that could be the actual, depending on how. There's no actual Venusians that we're aware of. I mean, Venus, we do not know if it's actually inhabited, although I have a sense that on some cosmic level it probably is. But they may call it Venusians. Who knows? But we are the Venusians, which is a bit of a hybrid of my name, but also we had the whole space age kind of vibe, when I started playing, I put the band together, the electronic valve instrument was the main instrument. So people were blown away by it, and especially in the tech industry, and I was in the perfect place in San Francisco during the dot-com boom. So companies like Google and Microsoft, and all these companies were getting going, and we got gigs for all these companies. We played Yahoo's opening gala party. We played many Apple parties, Facebook parties, Microsoft parties, you name it. Just about every major tech organization out there were calling for the Venusians because of this weird instrument. It's high technology. We got to check this guy out. So, and they had pretty deep top pockets, so I was able to sustain a career. Actually, those gigs that I played with the band on those corporate levels gave me the opportunity to be able to afford to bring them out into festivals and clubs and underground shows and Burning Man and things like that. So the ones that weren't as high paying, the corporate gigs kind of supported that. So I called that my day job when we played those gigs. But they were fun because we were able to just improvise and just make stuff up, and then we'd play some of the regular tunes that we had, and all original stuff. I wrote, pretty much 98% of the music. So, I love the music. I love the band, and I still play with those guys. We do a lot of improvising lately when I go out there and play. I just out there a few weeks ago playing a Star Wars gig. We played the original when George Lucas came out with a prequel back in the early 2000s. He hired my band to be the kind of cantina band for his gala show opening. Wow. So we played this big event, and after that we started getting all these calls to play Star Trek conventions and Star Wars things and all that. So we
I think you're our most famous guest.
Oh yeah,
so far, yeah.
Well,
were those around the world too? Because the Star Trek thing isn't just in.
I have not played anything else outside of San Francisco Bay Area, which is where Lucasfilms is and all that. So, but I'm sure that there's versions of this all over the world. But I don't promote the Venusians. Back in the day, I did, but I haven't really. I've been doing more of my solo stuff. So the Venusians have been a rarity lately. I will be going out there in May. I'm playing a gig with them at the Levi Stadium where the 49ers play. It's another corporate event. I'm not even sure what it is, but and that's just a one-off. So, but most of the time, 95% of my performances are solo lately. And I do have a band, and the Rochester-based band I've played with that are on call whenever we get something happening. And then there's there's some people that I play with here and there in Geneva too. Yeah.
We're going to have to get to Geneva a little more.
Yeah.
You're homie. Yeah. Come on. You got to get there. Yeah. So anyway, the Venusians, we played, I could name drop all day long, but we were probably one of the hottest bands during a particular era in San Francisco. And I always joke we're one of the hottest bands that no one's ever heard of because it was before the internet, you know. So the word traveled slow. The Hot Planet CD did get a lot of college airplay, and I always said that if we were able to tour, which we did, I didn't actually even try to get a record deal, so we never toured, except for just in the California and Bay Area, and then particular corporate gigs we do. But we never toured to do Hot Planet, which is what most bands would do if they have a record deal. They put out an album, and they would do a tour to promote that album, and they probably wouldn't get paid very well because they've got all their money into the album, but which the record company fronts. Fortunately, I did all the money was, it was all my money, so I didn't have to pay anything back. So it was kind of a break-even deal.
Tell us a little bit about Yolanda and how you met.
Well, okay, that's an interesting story, I suppose. It's interesting, yeah. I mean, I don't know how deep to get into this, but have you ever heard of a guy named Robert Anthony? He was like one of the earlier, I guess you'd call him a positive thinking guy, right?
Okay.
Like kind of a Norman Vincent Peale type of guy, you know? Okay. So I was listening to this tape someone gave me, and it's all about visualization and, if you visualize something and you write down this is all known today, in terms of planning anything. But, I was kind of ready to find a mate. And I wrote down the attributes of someone that I was looking for. And that same day, I walked out. I was living a block away from Ocean Beach in San Francisco, and it was a cold day after Thanksgiving in 1988. And I walked out, and I think actually it was 87. Anyway, I walked out onto the beach, and I just forgot about this thing. I wasn't actually looking for a woman. There's nobody there. It was a completely desolate beach, cold. But I looked up, and there's bushes, and I saw these two bare feet come up out of the bushes, like up. And I was like, well, what is that? So I walked up, and I looked around the other side of the bushes, and there's this lady on her head. And I was like, what is going on here? So she came down, and she looked up, and I looked down at her, and I said something profound like, you doing yoga? Mm-hmm. And anyway, we ended up having a conversation, and then we walked up the road to this place called the Cliff House, and we had a mimosa. It was a Sunday morning, and we had lunch, and we talked about politics, religion, all the stuff you're not supposed to talk about. And it got kind of heated at times, because I was like testing her, and we're going back and forth. And at the end of the thing, I gave her a little hug, and she rode off on her bike, and I took off on my car. And I said, well, I guess I'll never see her again. That wasn't a very good impression. And she got home, and she called her sister, and she said, I met my mate for life. Oh. I think she had a sense that if we can somehow test the fires right away and get through it, I don't know. Anyway, we had a fiery relationship for the first 7 years or so, and then the rest was pretty smooth sailing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Meant to be.
Yeah. She was a soulmate. She's still very close to me.
I'm sure she is.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. And it's my understanding yoga was one of her loves. She really...
Yes, Yolanda was a yoga teacher. She was quite accomplished, and she had her own curriculum and her own books and her own teacher training. So she taught people how to do yoga, and she had great, some of her students were Bonnie Raitt and who sang at her memorial, actually. And Jerry
one of
Brown
my faves. I just have to put that out there. I love Bonnie Raitt.
Well, but she was just, people loved her because she was just real. Mm-hmm. She didn't have some of the, I don't want to put down yoga chic, but there is some part of yoga that has become, kind of more about glamour and, clothing, tight asses, all that kind of stuff. So can I say that on the air?
Yeah. Sure, you can say that.
Anyway,
she was authentic.
She was pretty authentic, and people really appreciated that about her, and of course I did too. And she, wore her emotions on her sleeve, as the old cliche would go, and she was just a very sincere and dedicated person to animals, to nature, to yoga, to people's transformation into a happier place in their lives. I mean, that's just who she was. And it was a blessing to have shared that time with her. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
I know. It's got to be. It's so hard. I know. It's just.
Well, the three of us here, we started this once she started picking up the pieces from, our grief of losing our child. And, I'm sure I know you were also devastated. And, we're never the same after you lose somebody that you love so much, and especially when they're young.
Well, maybe Matt would like to tell us what happened before you. Yeah, just what happened with Yolanda.
Oh, yeah. So I always thought that she was going to, I felt like I needed to actually start taking better care of myself, because I didn't want her to be, taking care of me in our old age, because I knew that she was going to live to be 100, and I probably would maybe brace 75 or so, possibly, but but on her, on my birthday, December 14th, 2007, we went into the hospital. I finally encouraged her. I'm not one to go to the hospital or doctors. I'm really kind of a, taking care of myself type of person, I don't like medicine. I don't like, I don't even take aspirin. My mom's like that too. She's going to be 97. She doesn't have a doctor and doesn't do anything like that. So I kind of took after her. And Yolanda was like that too, but there was something going on that I was, kept questioning her, because she looked like she was pregnant. And we actually tested it, but she was in her 50s, but, early 50s. But we tested, and, and she had done some kind of a uterine cancer test earlier, just as a precaution. But her abdomen was growing, and I was like, we got to go in and check this out. And finally she relented, and she said, all right, let's go. So, and it turns out that even if she went in earlier, it wouldn't have made a difference, because this ovarian cancer is one of the things they call the silent killer. You don't know, it's kind of too late when you first find the symptoms. And so that's what it was. And the kind young doctor, after he took the tests and he came back into the room, and he had tears in his eyes, and it's like, oh my God, and I had already studied the symptoms. I was online looking and seeing what this could possibly be. And the worst case scenario was ovarian cancer. And then there was all these other scenarios. So I was kind of like hoping it wasn't going to be that, but of course it was that. And so we decided we had to do something about this. And the only things that were offered from the medical standpoint were chemotherapy and radiation, which even her oncology nurse said, look, this is not going to heal you. It might buy you some time. And Yolanda is extremely sensitive. She had a hard time even taking vitamins without getting nauseous, So she decided she didn't want to do that. And I said, well, we got to do something. So we started seeing a holistic doctor a little bit, and he gave her all kinds of supplements and stuff. And she just couldn't take that. So we decided that she decided, and I just decided to stop trying to push her direction and let her make the decisions, because, it just wasn't working the other way around. She had a sense of a direction that she needed to go, and that was, we're going to do everything we always wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go down, we're going to go where we had our honeymoon, and we're going to relive that. Then we're going to go to New York and visit your family in Geneva. And then we're going to drive to New Mexico, which we'd never done because her family's from New Mexico. We always flew there. We're going to drive there. We're going to take our time. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I took, basically all that year off. She was diagnosed on December 14th, 2007 on my birthday, and she passed away on September 11th, 2008. And pretty much all that time I took the time off and spent, just was her chauffeur and her companion, and toward the end, and she was always lucid, and even the last 3 days in the hospital were the only days that she spent where she was kind of not able to take care of herself. It was only 3 days, and it was amazing how she let herself just slowly just let go. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But she sounds so incredible, and it's wonderful the time that you had and that you made the most of that last year. It's
Oh yeah.
memories to last life.
There's a blog that she kept, and I wrote the final versions of it during her time in the hospital. But it's really worth reading because she was, facing it and talking about it in her blog and realizing that, hey, this is what it is. And it's called Yolanda's blog. I'm not sure if you just do a Google search for that. I'm not sure if it'll come up. It's been years. I haven't checked it out for a long time, but it might. If you look for Yolanda Bain,
BAIN.
BAIN yoga, there should be something that would lead you there too. Or I can send it to you, Linda. So,
Okay, that would be
But
great.
if your listeners wanted to find it, they probably could just look Yolanda Bain blog or Yolanda BAIN, blog.
That was such a beautiful way to honor her wishes, honor her life, and for you to do the best you could. That was a beautiful gift for both of you.
Yeah.
So, after something like that happens, people say, well, you got to move on. And, it's crazy. We move forward, and we try to find something to help us do that. And so can you tell us how grief changed you and your path in your music?
Oh, dramatically. I did not have the same desire to be up on stage and doing kind of the upbeat dance music that my band was noted for, and kind of circus. We'd have circus performers. Actually, Cirque du Soleil performers would come and do stuff with us when they weren't on their tours, and we did. It was a wild, fun scene, but I just wasn't feeling it. I felt like I felt a panic in a sense that I didn't know what I was going to do because I was dropped on a different planet. You know how that feels, right? So suddenly you wake up and it's like, this is not the same planet I was on for the last 20 years.
Everything changes.
Everything changes. It's like there's no way to even describe it except for, you have to just go through it. And I just turned to nature, which is my solace place, and I would go up, across the Golden Gate Bridge into Marin County, where we would always go on hikes, and I would just have, just time in nature and talking to her and being, just being attentive to what was going through me, and and then I started to play music in nature, which really helped to process through music, which is always good for me and helpful. So I was able to work some stuff out that way. Yeah.
I think so many of us are realizing that to help us reconnect, whatever the moment in our life is, music, nature, and wellness are just so powerful and important. And I think there's a overarching awakening for a lot of people to realize that. And I think it's beautiful as you've introduced that to us, how important and beautiful that is.
And cathartic, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and whether you knew before something like tragic happens, or whether you were just caught up in this crazy world that we live in, and that was great what you just said. It's like we're not in that world anymore. It's a whole different space that now we are in, and you appreciate all those simple things in life that you took for granted before, and
But you have to let some things go. I mean, that's what I found is that there's some relationships and things that just didn't feed my soul anymore. And so I needed more space between things, and I gave myself the grace to do that instead of just being loyal. And, certainly it's like that whole thing, so people for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, come into your life. So I think that's kind of true too. And I'm blessed with a wonderful family and incredible friends and some incredible new relationships that have come. And I think they're heaven sent.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Yeah.
So you've taken your pain and you've turned it into passion by finding an even deeper spiritual, peaceful path for yourself, which you share with others through your music. Can you tell us more about the unique instruments you fell in love with? And I don't even know how to pronounce. Is it hong or hong?
Yeah, it's somewhere in between.
Hong.
They call it, the makers are Swiss. They're from Bern, Switzerland, which has its own dialect. And hong means hand in their language. So they made something that is very much almost an extension of the hand if you're playing it in the way that I guess they intended it. It's a beautiful instrument. When I first heard about it, Yolanda was still here. I was looking for something new. The electronic valve instrument, as wonderful it is, it is electronic and it is synthetic. And I was just yearning for something acoustic in my life again. I played the trumpet, but I'd stopped playing, and it's just such a loud instrument, and I wasn't very feeling. And the piano I love, but it wasn't easy to have a piano. Although we did have a piano in one of our houses, but I just really wanted something different, something new. So a lot of my friends play unusual instruments, and I just put the word out. I said, please find me something if you're out there in the world, And so one of my friends had seen the early version of the hung at a festival. Actually, it was a Burning Man, and told me about it. And I said, that's what I've been looking for. And they didn't know where it was, or they didn't know the name of it, or they didn't know who made it. And I said, and I kept on this person. I kept, find out, please call the person who knows the person. And then it finally came back to me that it was named a hung. And then I looked it up and I couldn't find anything on it. But some obscure thing came through, and I started following that path. Again, this is the early days of the internet. Is about 2002 or so. So things were just kind of formulating, and Google wasn't all that big at this point. And I found out that it's called a hung, and that you have to there's a list, a list of people who wanted to get on it. If you want to get on the list, you had to call this person, and I did. Anyway, I'm kind of going off on a tangent of how I got the instrument, but the instrument itself is a beautiful sounding instrument, and it's created a whole renaissance in music instrument design. Now there's about 500 instrument makers around the world making things like the hung, and they call them hand pans. Hand pans, right, like based after the steel pan, but you play it with your hands. But Felix and Sabina, the makers of the hung, decided that the hung is just the hung. They didn't want it to be classified as anything. It's not a drum. It's not a hand pan. It's just a hung. The hand pans came after the hung. That's kind of how the whole thing went. So being early in the whole situation, I decided to honor that, that legacy. And but it's an amazing instrument, and I found it to crack hearts open very easily. I would play, and it would just bring me so much joy and so much life. And when I played, when other people would come by, they'd be like, that's amazing. It's the most amazing sounding thing I've ever heard. And it is. It's kind of a combination of like a guitar, a harp, and a synthesizer somehow that really has the capacity to just deeply, I don't know, just get into the psyche in a certain way. And it's not just the instrument itself, it's what the person does with it, obviously. So I spent a lot of time in nature, just, as I say, downloading information and music and playing the hung just by myself, no one else around. I'd find a place where no one's going to be, and I just wanted to just be there with the instrument. And so I developed what I call these motifs that later became songs. And now I'm doing, a combination of many things. I brought the EVI back into the fold. I let go of that for a while, and I bring the EVI in, I bring the hung in, and I sometimes bring the guitar in, and I'm a singer-songwriter, so I play songs on the guitar and sing, and it just depends on the gig. I played a club in Akron just a couple of days ago, actually. I played it was a club gig, and I'm singing, with a guitar, and then bringing some of the EVI in. But then I'm doing something on Friday. I don't know when this podcast is going to be.
That's what I was thinking that I forgot that ran through my head earlier. I was going to say that this is going to probably air in March, April, May.
Mid-May.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, check out my website because I'll be all over in May, and I'll be in Florida and I'll be San Francisco, Kansas, Arkansas, Kentucky. I mean, all over the place. So, but anyways, So
we need to hear it. I can't wait any longer. We need to hear this music. Will you?
Yeah, sure.
Share with us and our listeners.
Yeah, there's a song I'll play for you called The Lydian Passage, which is this particular hung is kind of in a Lydian scale, at least the way I'm playing it. And I guess we'll just play part of the song. I think that's the protocol. So here it is, all hung, The Lydian Passage. That piece gets it travels quite a bit. Actually, we stopped it before the next. Anyway, it has a whole journey. I would recommend anybody watch. Go find that, The Lydian Passage. It's on my website, and you can download my music on my website, mattvenuti.com.
It just makes you want to close your eyes, and it just takes you
transports you
peaceful place. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I hadn't mentioned before, I don't think, was the when Yolanda was alive too. I started to get into shamanic journey work, as it's called, which started with breath work. There's a whole thing called holotropic breathing, Stan Groff. And there's a certain way that you can access breath that actually puts you in that state of psychedelic, what it might do for you. So I started that way, and then I got into, I did some medicine work too. I did some work with a group that was illegally doing psychedelics, but we were with therapists, and now it's kind of becoming mainstream. But so I did this for a number of years, and I started to become a kind of a co-facilitator, and then the highest honor was awarded to me when I became the music person. So I started to, and when you are dealing with playing the music for these events, it's quite a responsibility, because the music is where people are going to take them. You follow the music. That's part of the whole situation. You're laying down, you have an eye mask and the music, and that's it. and it takes you inward. And within yourself, there's everything. So you don't need to be out in nature and running around like the early hippies did. It's all there. Plenty of colors, plenty of flowers, and plenty of cosmic universes are all within us. So, but anyway, the whole point is that I started to work in that realm with music, with the hung, and later with the EVI. And now what I'm doing is, without the medicines, of course, like this weekend, I'll be doing 2 events, not this weekend in May. This is, we're talking in, where are we now?
March,
right. But I will be doing these, what I call deep space sound immersion events. Because I realized that even without the breathing and without the drumming and without the medicine, the plant medicines as they're called, we don't like to call them drugs because the drugs come from the pharmacies. These are from nature's pharmacy. Mm-hmm. But without that, we can access those places with just the music. So I've learned how to create the soundtrack for the events of the corporate world and how to kind of work with the shamanic realms with the music. So now I do it with my whole kind of litany of instruments, which includes the hungs. It includes the electronic valve instrument with the looper, which allows me to create, kind of soundscapes and, kind of, deep soundtrack kind of stuff. All to access, the subconscious and the superconscious and get people to feel and to release and let go. Then there's the waves, which are a brand new instrument made by a friend of mine, which are quite extraordinary. And then I'll use some of the Tibetan bowls that I have and a hawaka, which is a triple-chambered ocarina that a friend of mine, another person I know, made. So I have a whole bunch of instruments that I use to kind of access these deep places in people. Mm-hmm. And the end result is people feel relieved, inspired, and joyful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So your music and singing bowls and all this should be part of everybody's
Therapy.
Rehab.
Yeah.
From people who have substance use disorders and things like that, or any grief, depression, any mental
Anxiety.
health condition. Yes.
I totally agree. Yeah. A lot of people are turning to the plant medicines and ayahuasca and things of that nature. Even ketamine, they're giving treatments like this to help people to access deep places within themselves that they may have locked up. And, I don't think that there's an addictive quality to these kinds of things, not to ayahuasca for sure, or LSD for that matter. I don't think that these are, there's a danger of becoming addicted. You want to be with someone who's sitting with you, who is, helping you through the process if you're doing this stuff, especially the quantities that you do in these more therapeutic settings. But anyway, there's my little pitch for plant medicine therapy.
Was there anything else you wanted to play for us?
Is there one of the valve,
with the EVI?
EVI? Is there one of those on there?
Let me see.
I remember in Canandaigua you played that.
Boy, it's funny because I just took the
No, we
ones
can play whatever you
Just play
have.
one of
That's
the-
great.
This one has a little bit of the electronic valve instrument in it. You'll hear it kind of as a very soft, kind of fluty kind of thing. But check this out. It's called the Yolanda Trail Part 1. And this one has many different passages too, but I just played it up to the end of the first passage. So, okay. The Yolanda Trail is a trail that actually called the Yolanda Trail that we used to take in Marin County. And here we go. actually it sinks into this other place, and then it gets into this kind of really, I don't know, you have to listen to that one too. It's the Yolanda Trail Part 1. If you listen to the entire song, you'll see that it actually comes out into this incredible, joyful, kind of high energy place. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Linda, in the summertime when I'm out in the yard, I've got backyard speakers, Bluetooth, and all that stuff. So I'm constantly playing music when I'm working out in the yard.
How come we haven't done a house concert yet? All right.
Ooh, great idea. Loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
No, but Linda's always saying, oh, it's the same songs. Well, because I go back to the '70s. The Eagles are my favorite group.
Great band, yeah.
And she's eagled out for sure, but they're still touring.
Yeah.
So, but this summer I'm going to have Matt's music out there playing on those speakers.
Oh, cool.
I love your music, and I like. Oh, and on the whole time that I work, I mean, the tracks that I have of yours, I love, because I like when I'm working with somebody not to have to talk over the music, or just something, really relaxing. When I do Reiki, certainly, that's a quiet time, but your music is so perfect for that. Mm-hmm. And even in the salon when I work, you want to focus on the person, but the music just sets the tone, right? Mm-hmm. It's what you see and what you hear and what you feel when you're with somebody. So I love it. So I always like quiet, peaceful things.
Yeah. You close your eyes and you're just transported, and kind of the music just takes over your thinking. It's like an automatic meditation. It's just incredibly beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I do like vocals and things too, but I would say 80% of the time, I like what you do. I like the new age kind of just chill.
Yeah. Well, if you go to my Spotify, Matt Venuti on Spotify, you'll hear quite a diversity of things. One of my albums is called Songs from the Great Beyond, and it has some pretty quirky, fun Venusian-y kind of stuff. And then there's the Venusians has a Spotify page too, and the album Hot Planet is on there, and that's totally like rock, but rock in a kind of more subdued way, I suppose. Do
you have holiday albums? Like
no, but I got a song called Holiday. It's on Hungosphere, one of my albums. But no, I haven't done a Christmas or holiday. I haven't done a holiday, but I have a children's album that I just produced, finished. That's been on the back burner for many years. Long story, and I won't get into it here, but look up my website and you'll find it. It's called Kids Classics with an exclamation point. And it's inspiring and awesome, and everybody who hears it loves it. And I haven't quite done anything with it yet. I'm still waiting to find the strategy to get it out there. But it's a long story, but I was hired to do a kids show years ago, and the show never came about, but the music was there. So I finished the music recently, and there you go.
Wow.
Your favorite classics. Teapot and Wheels on the Bus, Old MacDonald.
That's great. I love it. It's much needed.
But it's done in a very fun, cool, I call it Venusianized music, because it's really my, kind of my way of making it fun for me. So I think adults will really like it too.
We got to start them young. That's right.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Well, this has been great. I know people can find all your music and all your upcoming events on mattvenuti.com.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's, I know this won't be out till May, I guess. We're going to put
May
this out.
2023, mid-May.
But we're going to see you this weekend in March 2023.
Excellent.
So look forward to that.
Yeah.
Performing in Penfield, New York.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's great. So what kind of feedback have you gotten through the years from your fans? I'm sure they're very diverse and eclectic, because this music resonates, I'm sure, with almost everyone who hears it.
I don't know. I probably have some very confused fans at this point because I've been through so many different incarnations with my music. But I think overall, people are very, especially since I've been doing, the solo stuff, that, people tell me that they feel transported and mesmerized, and I get all kinds of fun adjectives about my music, and I just follow that too. I feel like if I pick up the energy in the room, and I work with that energy, and I'm really gotten quite good at that. So I just feel like if people come and they have an open mind and just relax into the music, that they're going to have a profound experience. Mm-hmm. That's my hope, and it seems to be the case. So, keep that
great.
going.
I think we're at a time when we really, really need that we really need to utilize music to help us heal and to reconnect, and for whatever troubles we're having in the moment. So it's a beautiful thing. Love it.
Well, there's a bloom of something called sound healing, which I don't claim to be a sound healer, although I guess it's the same kind of effect in some ways. But some people actually go to university for that and know about frequencies and all that stuff. I do it more intuitively. And then there's people who just have a great, variety of crystal bowls, and they get people together and they make, they hit the bowl and access sounds, and people feel relaxed from that. It's getting really big out there. It's amazing how many people are doing this all over the country, the world for that matter. So there's something that people are starting to understand about sound, not just music, but sound. But what I do is I integrate the whole idea of sound immersion with a musicality that's normally not associated with that, because, I can create like a subtle soundtrack within, a frequency or resonance that I'm trying to bring out there, and I don't think it distracts from what people are doing, normally with just crystal bowls. I think it might even add to it, because you're adding different layers and dimensions to it. So, to me, it's like being inside of a soundtrack. You are the movie. Your life inside is the movie, and I'm going to give you a soundtrack to breathe into, and to take into yourself, and to create your story and make your story work for you. Yeah.
I love it. Love it. This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for spending your precious time with us. We're honored to have you here, and we wish you the best. We'll definitely stay in touch. We wish we could be groupies and follow you on your touring, but
well, you can follow me online.
We will do that. We will definitely do that. But I was talking physically, follow you to all the wonderful places you're going.
Well, I'll be back in the summer here, and I'll be doing more. But if anybody out there in the podcast world, I'm available to on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and then on my website. You can contact me through any of those places. And if you have an idea of a place for me to perform in Rochester or wherever you're listening to this, get in touch, because probably I'll be there. Yeah.
Awesome.
And through the Finger Lakes probably this summer, right? If you're
I'll
back
be
in this area.
I'll be in the Finger Lakes. Yeah, all over the place.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Super.
Thank you. This has just been purely delightful, and just expanding our thinking and our awareness, and connecting with music, nature, and our well-being. So just beautiful. So I will say, help us continue the conversation. Please rate, review, share, and subscribe to Once Shattered on the podcast, on the platform you're listening to us on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, listeners. We are so honored to have you as listeners, and we do this for you and to help you grow, and it helps us grow at the same time. Thank you, Matt Venuti. Thank you, Rockbox Recording and Production, sound engineer, friend, and so much more, Scott Fitzgerald. Thank you for expertly producing our podcast, and so much more.
And as always, remember, Rockbox is the place to record your podcast, record your audiobook, and do a legacy cast for your loved ones. So thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next time.
MattVenuti.com. Check it out.